Welcome to our exploration of one of history's most practical philosophies, Stoicism, and how its timeless principles can revolutionize your approach to achieving goals and managing time in our chaotic modern world. Imagine standing firmly on a cliff as waves crash violently below, yet remaining completely undisturbed. This powerful image captures the essence of Stoicism, a philosophy not of emotional suppression, but of emotional mastery. Today, we'll discover how this ancient wisdom, born in Athens around 300 BCE, offers surprisingly effective solutions to our contemporary challenges of productivity, focus, and purpose. But first, let me ask you, how often do you find yourself overwhelmed by competing priorities? How frequently does anxiety about future outcomes paralyze your present actions? How many times have you abandoned meaningful goals because circumstances became difficult? If you're like most people, these experiences are all too familiar. Stoicism emerged during a time of great political upheaval and uncertainty, not unlike our own era. Its founders and practitioners included people from all walks of life, from Zeno, a merchant who lost everything in a shipwreck, to Epictetus, a former slave, to Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome. Despite their vastly different circumstances, they all found in Stoicism a practical framework for navigating life's complexities with grace and effectiveness. At its core, Stoicism teaches us a revolutionary idea. We cannot control external events, but we have complete authority over our responses to those events. This dichotomy of control, as it's often called, is the cornerstone upon which we'll build our approach to goal setting and time management. Consider this. How much energy do you waste worrying about circumstances beyond your influence? The weather disrupting your plans? Other people's opinions? Market fluctuations affecting your investments? The Stoics would argue that this mental expenditure is not merely wasteful, it's the primary obstacle to your effectiveness and peace of mind. Instead, the Stoics propose a radical reorientation. Focus exclusively on what you can control, your judgments, decisions, and actions. Everything else should be approached with what they called the reserve clause. I will achieve this goal, fate permitting. This isn't pessimism or a lack of commitment. Rather, it's a recognition of reality that actually enhances your resilience and adaptability. Now, you might be wondering, how does this ancient philosophy translate into practical techniques for managing your time and achieving your goals in the 21st century? Throughout this video, we'll explore exactly that, transforming philosophical principles into actionable strategies. Let's begin with a fundamental Stoic practice that directly applies to goal setting, the contemplation of your own mortality. The Stoics regularly reflected on the finite nature of life, not to induce anxiety, but to sharpen their focus on what truly matters. Seneca, the Roman statesman and philosopher, wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." This perspective cuts through the noise of trivial concerns and illuminates your authentic priorities. When you regularly remind yourself that your time is limited, you naturally become more selective about your commitments and more intentional about your goals. The modern manifestation of this practice might be asking yourself, if I had only 5 years left to live, would this goal still matter to me? This question alone can dramatically clarify which pursuits deserve your precious time and energy. Another essential Stoic concept for effective goal achievement is Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of evils or difficulties. Unlike positive visualization techniques that focus exclusively on successful outcomes, the Stoics advocated for mentally rehearsing potential obstacles and setbacks. By anticipating difficulties in advance, you develop contingency plans, reduce the emotional impact when challenges arise, and build psychological resilience. Modern research in cognitive psychology confirms the effectiveness of this approach, now often called defensive pessimism or prospective hindsight. For your most important goals, take time to ask, what could go wrong? What internal weaknesses might sabotage my efforts? What external circumstances might create obstacles? Then, proactively develop strategies to address these potential challenges. This practice transforms vague hopes into robust plans with significantly higher chances of success. As we continue our journey through Stoic wisdom, we'll explore how principles like focusing on process over outcomes, practicing voluntary discomfort, and maintaining perspective through self-dialogue can dramatically enhance your productivity and sense of purpose. The Stoics understood something profound. True productivity isn't about doing more things. It's about doing the right things, for the right reasons, in the right way. Their wisdom offers not just techniques, but a comprehensive philosophy of meaningful achievement that stands in stark contrast to our culture's often frantic and unfocused approach to goals and time management. In the following sections, we'll translate these philosophical insights into specific daily practices that you can implement immediately. We'll examine how to prioritize like a Stoic, how to overcome procrastination through Stoic mindfulness, and how to maintain unwavering focus amid distractions. The journey ahead promises not just greater productivity, but something far more valuable, a sense of purpose and tranquility even as you pursue ambitious goals in an unpredictable world. The Stoics called this state eudaimonia, human flourishing, and it begins with understanding the distinction between what you can and cannot control. As we've just explored, the foundation of Stoic productivity lies in that powerful distinction between what we can and cannot control. Now, let's delve deeper into how this principle, the dichotomy of control, can transform your approach to goal achievement and time management. Epictetus, who began his life as a slave before becoming one of Stoicism's most influential teachers, opens his handbook with this fundamental lesson. Some things are within our control, while others are not. Within our control are opinion, motivation, desire, aversion, and, in a word, whatever is of our own doing. Not within our control are body, property, reputation, status, and, in a word, whatever is not of our own doing. This distinction may seem simple, but its implications are profound. Consider how much mental and emotional energy you expend daily on matters entirely outside your influence. The traffic jam making you late, a colleague's poor attitude, economic uncertainties, or even the weather disrupting your plans. The Stoics would argue that this misallocation of your finite attention and energy is the primary source of both ineffectiveness and unhappiness. When you direct your focus toward uncontrollable externals, you create a double burden. Not only do you suffer unnecessary frustration, but you simultaneously neglect the areas where your attention could actually make a difference. Let's translate this into practical terms for goal achievement. Every goal can be broken down into three components: your actions, the actions of others, and circumstances beyond anyone's control. The Stoic approach is to focus exclusively on the first category while maintaining an attitude of detached acceptance toward the others. For example, if your goal is to advance in your career, you have complete control over developing your skills, producing quality work, building meaningful relationships, and seeking opportunities. You have no control over whether a specific position becomes available, how others evaluate your contributions, or broader economic conditions affecting your industry. This doesn't mean abandoning ambitious goals. Rather, it means reframing them to emphasize what you can control. Instead of, "I must get promoted this year," partially outside your control, the Stoic reframes, "I will consistently demonstrate excellence in my work, develop valuable skills, and make my contributions visible." entirely within your control. This reframing accomplishes something remarkable. It simultaneously increases your chances of success while liberating you from the anxiety of attachment to specific outcomes. You move forward with what the Stoics called the reserve clause. I will do everything in my power, fate permitting. Now, let's apply this principle to time management. Modern productivity systems often focus exclusively on techniques and tools, calendars, to-do lists, time-blocking methods. These are valuable, but the Stoics would argue that effective time management begins with a more fundamental question. Are you directing your time toward things within your control? Marcus Aurelius, who ruled the Roman Empire while practicing Stoicism, wrote in his journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This insight offers a powerful filter for your daily activities. Before adding another task to your schedule, ask yourself, is this something within my control, or am I attempting to control the uncontrollable? This doesn't mean ignoring external circumstances. The Stoics were practical people who understood the need to respond to reality, but they distinguished between responding, which remains within your control, and attempting to control, which often leads to frustration and wasted effort. Consider how much time you might reclaim by releasing your grip on uncontrollables. Hours spent worrying about potential future scenarios that may never materialize. Endless rumination over past events that cannot be changed. Attempts to manage other people's perceptions of you, or striving to meet impossible standards of perfection. The practical application is straightforward but powerful. Regularly audit your goals, tasks, and concerns. For each item, ask, is this within my control? If not, practice consciously releasing it, not with resignation or passivity, but with the clear-eyed recognition that your energy is better directed elsewhere. This practice alone can dramatically increase your effectiveness by concentrating your finite resources of attention and energy where they can actually make a difference. The Stoics would argue that true productivity isn't about managing time, it's about managing attention and intention. As Seneca advised, nothing, to my way of thinking, is a better proof of a well-ordered mind than a person's ability to stop just where they are and pass some time in their own company. This capacity to pause, reflect, and redirect your focus is the cornerstone of Stoic productivity. In our next section, we'll explore how the Stoic practice of Premeditatio Malorum, anticipating obstacles, can transform your goal-setting process from wishful thinking into strategic planning, dramatically increasing your chances of success while maintaining your equanimity when facing inevitable challenges. The dichotomy of control isn't merely a philosophical concept. It's a practical tool that, when applied consistently, creates both greater effectiveness and deeper tranquility. By focusing your precious time and energy exclusively on what you can control, you develop what the Stoics considered the ultimate resource: internal freedom. Having established how the dichotomy of control helps us direct our energy toward what truly matters, we now turn to another powerful Stoic technique that transforms how we approach our goals. This practice builds directly upon our understanding of what we can and cannot control, providing a strategic framework for navigating life's inevitable challenges. The ancient Stoics developed a practice they called Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of evils. While this may sound pessimistic to modern ears, it's actually a deeply practical approach to achievement that modern psychology has validated through concepts like defensive pessimism and implementation intentions. Seneca described this practice eloquently. The man who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive. Unlike toxic worry or anxiety, Premeditatio Malorum is a controlled, intentional exercise in which you systematically identify potential obstacles before they arise. Think of it as the opposite of naive optimism. When we set goals, we naturally envision success. We picture ourselves completing the marathon, launching the business, or mastering the skill. This positive visualization feels good, but research shows it can actually reduce our motivation and leave us unprepared for inevitable challenges. The Stoic approach is more balanced. You maintain your aspiration while simultaneously asking, what could prevent me from achieving this goal? What obstacles might I face? What weaknesses in myself might sabotage my efforts? For example, if your goal is to write a book, the Premeditatio Malorum would have you consider, what if I face writer's block? What if my early drafts are criticized? What if family obligations reduce my writing time? What if self-doubt creeps in halfway through the project? But here's where this practice differs from mere worry. For each potential obstacle, you develop a specific response strategy. If writer's block occurs, then I will write for just 15 minutes without judgment. If criticism comes, then I will extract the useful feedback and discard the rest. If family obligations arise, then I will adjust my writing schedule rather than abandoning it. This if-then planning, which psychologists call implementation intentions, has been shown to dramatically increase goal achievement. It works because you're programming your brain in advance, creating neural pathways that activate automatically when challenges arise, rather than being caught unprepared in the emotional moment of difficulty. Epictetus advised his students, when you're about to undertake some action, remind yourself what kind of action it is. The Stoics believed in thoroughly understanding the nature of any endeavor before committing to it. This includes recognizing the inherent challenges that come with different pursuits. This realistic approach to goal setting serves multiple purposes. First, it prepares you practically for the journey ahead. Second, it inoculates you emotionally against discouragement when obstacles inevitably appear. Third, it helps you distinguish between goals worth pursuing and those that may not justify the necessary sacrifices. Consider time management through this lens. Many productivity systems focus on optimizing for the perfect day, where everything goes according to plan. The Stoic approach acknowledges that interruptions, emergencies, and unexpected demands are not exceptions. They're inevitable features of a normal day. Rather than being derailed by these disruptions, the practitioner of Premeditatio Malorum anticipates them. If an emergency arises in the morning, then I'll shift my deep work to the evening. If I feel exhausted at my planned exercise time, then I'll do just 5 minutes to maintain the habit. If technology fails during my presentation, then I'll continue with the materials I have. This approach transforms your relationship with obstacles. Instead of seeing them as evidence that your plan has failed, you recognize them as expected parts of the journey that you've already prepared for. This psychological shift from, "Why is this happening to me?" to, "This is exactly what I prepared for," is profoundly empowering. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This perspective transforms obstacles from roadblocks into opportunities, chances to demonstrate your resilience, creativity, and commitment to your chosen path. The practice extends beyond individual goals to your entire approach to time. The Stoics recommended regular contemplation of mortality, not to induce fear, but to sharpen your appreciation for the finite nature of time. Seneca wrote that we should balance life's books each day, treating time as our most precious and non-renewable resource. This awareness naturally leads to better prioritization. When you regularly confront the limited nature of your time, you become much more selective about how you spend it. Activities that don't align with your deepest values naturally fall away as you recognize the true cost of each commitment. To implement Premeditatio Malorum in your own life, begin by taking each important goal and asking, what could go wrong here? What internal and external obstacles might I face? Then, develop specific contingency plans for each potential challenge. This isn't an exercise in negativity. It's strategic preparation that paradoxically creates greater peace of mind. The ultimate aim of this practice isn't to eliminate obstacles. The Stoics understood that's impossible. Rather, the aim is to develop what they called the inner citadel, a resilient core that remains steady regardless of external circumstances. When you've anticipated challenges and prepared your responses, you approach life with greater confidence and tranquility. In our next section, we'll explore how the Stoic virtue of discipline, what they called temperance, provides a framework for consistent action that makes achievement not just possible, but inevitable. We'll see how small daily practices build the foundation for extraordinary results over time,